all of stage 2, it feels like. But at the very least, Na'Vi get to run it back, as it didn't necessarily go that well earlier against FlyQuest.
They're heading to the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda one more time for a little bit of extra protection, a little bit of extra dive potential on some of these points, especially on that waterfalls. Going in for back wraparound characters like Angela, like Captain America, like Venom is so important. And then, of course, if you can play something like Groot, you've got great spawn hole potential. For now, though, Groot will become a little bit weaker, but definitely not invaluable here, as we will see the Mantis taken out on both sides, and one-sided Venom secured for Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, it stops that team up with Jeff, and it means that you get one of the stronger vanguards that is almost being sort of banned out in a vacuum as well to an extent. But looking at like actual picks and protects, Crazy Raccoon have tried to protect a lot of Captain America because that's mostly J-Mac. Again, the coach is having to sub in. He is a very good vanguard player, very good Cap player, but outside of that, he can be forced onto weak areas. Naturally, I don't think it's unfair to say that he's the weak link on the team because he is the non-player, right? Like, it's just one of the... Oh, sorry, he is the weak link on the team because he is the coach, no? Like, it's just you would try and isolate that.
I guess if they are losing, you can't blame the coach. That is.
Yeah, it's more of a case of like if you're trying to target out a player in the draft, it seems that that would be a natural one to go for. Certainly in comparison to anybody from Na'Vi that can play and should be able to play. Any pro player should be able to play multiple characters at level. You just don't really expect J-Mac to have to sort of keep to the same group, I suppose, roster-wise, as the rest of Crazy Raccoon.
Na'Vi going to be taking out that Star-Lord and the Psylocke here. So characters that they themselves actually really enjoy playing, taking them away from Crazy Raccoon, especially as you know NX is extremely proficient on that Star-Lord. Adam Warlock also will be the last ban that Na'Vi bring to the board. Now they have themselves a Jeff, they can't get themselves a Venom, so they're going to bring out the Psylocke. Invisible Woman allowed through the draft, so you want to have something that can potentially break through that invisible boundary if that opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, one-sided Psylocke. Is it worth, like, you're not going to have a Protect for Emma Frost, but you got it one-sided anyway, and the Captain America is going to be banned out in the end from Crazy Raccoon. So you do have that one-sided approach. You have got the Venom that J-Mac has also been playing, but it seems that Vital and NX are already sort of locking in the kind of composition that we've seen consistently on this map with the Hela Namor.
Invisible Woman is extremely valuable when you have something like a Hela and a Namor, because that Guardian Shield can be great to protect the already squishy backgunners. But it looks like they may want to go for Loki instead, get themselves a double fate of both worlds and make good use of that maximum invulnerability of the regeneration domains. Could give them the opportunity to just survive any particular burst strategies that Crazy Raccoon decide to bring out.
Yeah, it seems that Crazy Raccoon are trying to go for just making sure that Trust Me and Rajaro feel a little bit more restricted with the Vanguard options, as Venom, Emma, and Captain America aren't going to be available for the side of Na'Vi. Trust me, locking in the penny, just sort of giving some of the damage. And can you imagine if Jericho wanted to throw out some of the blade now? It would be nice, but not really expected. Na'Vi, the other thing that they really have to play on is seeding. It sort of becomes a little bit more up in the air whether they would finish as second or third seed. So it's not as if they're going to be completely throwing this one away, right? No. There's still some value, and they're pro players. They play to win no matter what's at stake.
Exactly. There's never a reason to throw a game, really, because you want that seeding opportunity and you don't want to give anything away, and you don't want to put yourself at risk of losing a match that you might have otherwise not had to play. Fate's going to be moving out on that Jeff, trust me, bringing out the Angela to try and harass that backline. Let's see if Vital and NX can avoid that threat.
Feels that outside of the Emma Frost, this composition could be taken back to earlier this year, like Season 0, right, with the Luna and the Loki. And then both of these like hit scan duelists looking scary and plays Vital from high up in the sky, trying to swoop down and see if he can pick out on anything. But trust me, we highlighted that his hero pool is going to be selective at best because of the bans, is on the Angela and finds the first pick of this series.
Already keeping the pressure on, keeping it going, Make it 3 with Vital and JT3 taken out as well. And trust me, the Daughter of Heaven, Daughter of Odin, raised in heaven, able to bring it down, and, well, giving Crazy Raccoon hell so far. J-Mac going to be bringing out an Asgardian of their own, making it all, 3 of the 4 Asgardians has Thor coming out for J-Mac.
I mean, I like the idea for J-Mac to sort of bring this into the fray. You feel like you're going to be dove in on from this composition from Na'Vi. It's the LAN amplifier that's going to start this fight off, and immediately Sunghoon hasn't built up that fate of both worlds, gets taken out. Jerky does plenty with the damage boost. He has the Dance of the Butterflies. He doesn't really need to use it currently because him and Trust Me have basically royal flushed the entirety of this Crazy Raccoon roster. They're sent back to spawn, 40% on the board progression-wise for Na'Vi.
Thor does give a little bit of an attempt at a counter into the Angela due to the fact that lightning domain, as you can see there, does ground, meaning that you can try and pick Angela out of the sky, and of course Thor giving some crowd control of their own, which allows them to try and duel at Angela, and having a range advantage due to having a ranged ability that Angela does not have. But Angela takes the advantage of being significantly more mobile, having a free fly into the backline already. Sunghoon and Lastro taken out as Jerky, taking advantage of all of those defensive abilities not being up. They had Dance of the Butterfly, they had that God of Mischief. At that point, they considered it more worth to just go down and get a full reset.
It seems to make the most sense. Na'Vi, knowing that Crazy Raccoon like to sort of play triple strategist with an Adam Warlock, with the likes of a Star-Lord in the hands of NX as and when needed. Main reasons why the bands went in the direction that they did. Forces Crazy Raccoon onto something that we do see a lot, but just not as tenured, not as practiced for this Japanese squad. At least the organization is. But J-Mac has found himself a pick onto Trust Me. That sort of allows some space to work with, but the be right back means it's only a respite at most. A 6v6 is going to be happening right onto the objective as overtime is going to be hit. You've got the Heaven's Judgment thrown in from Trust Me. He's able to sort of fly around, try to just keep contesting as much as he possibly can. But it does seem like Crazy Raccoon able off the back of that fight, only off one pick, I think. Now two, both of which were Trust Me, able to actually take this objective for the first time at 0%.
They've actually managed to hold on to a lot of ultimates here. Lastro with the God of Mischief, they have Horde of Proteans and the God of Thunder. So Crazy Raccoon actually have set themselves up quite nicely here for the re-engage take attempt from Na'Vi. Whereas Na'Vi, though, they do have both of their defensive strategist ultimates. Jerky's going to be charging up extremely quickly on that Psylocke, and they have that Galactic Legend. So Na'Vi should be able to get the retake here, but if Crazy Raccoon can time this right and stagger appropriately, there is a chance that they could turn this around. Naga going to open this up, moving on in. The Galactic Legend trying to track him, but the split from Crazy Raccoon makes that extremely difficult, forcing the teleport from Naga.
Means that the Bira back has been used twice for Trust Me, who has been the first elimination in just neutral fights twice so far. It's not necessarily the cleanest stuff, but there's still a lot of time for Na'Vi to work with as Crazy Raccoon try to go aggressive. A Meteor M alongside the damage boost from the LAN amplifier might have been able to punish that overstep. At least JT3 goes down, but outside of that, the It's Jeff is going to spit off the Lunar Snow off of the map. We're going to see the fate of both worlds for some time now, but it has provided that window, that snowball for Na'Vi to pick off the rest of this Crazy Raccoon roster. And I would imagine you've got JT3 that's going for the portal play, might have enough time to work with. But Na'Vi setting themselves up to be taking this point first. It forces out quite a lot from Crazy Raccoon. And you have the God of Thunder at the very least, but Na'Vi, Dance of the Butterflies feels that that might be checkmate.
Pushing on to the point, they might try and hold this, honestly, because it's only the first round. If they can hold through the rest of this ultimate, they may have a chance to try and contest this. God of Thunder, never mind. Thor going to be heading back to spawn the long way as we go in for the Dance of the Butterfly. They decide not worth holding it. That was getting a little close. People were dropping low. They had to already use the Battle Rebirth Beacon to bring back Naga, who fell in that fight. Not worth the risk. Easier just to drop the ultimate to secure the point.
Yeah, it wasn't so much the God of Thunder, more the God of Fart in the Wind from Thor there, I think. It just didn't really show up too much, but I guess there wasn't really too much of a game plan outside of hoping to survive out of all of the damage there. But yeah, a little bit closer for Crazy Raccoon. I think for both them and OUG, it's been the same sort of story on these domination maps, which is the case of, like, so far, Crazy Raccoon haven't won on domination so far this event, despite actually picking up a series early on. But also that they would have a close first point, like 99% to 99%, and then the second point would be very, very one-sided to the team that would be playing up against Crazy Raccoon. So at the very least, you could sort of reset some of these things. The likes of Level 1 Crook and Rajaro haven't been eliminated once. And Crook, the MVP of the mid-season finals, playing on the Rocket, Fate as the Jeff, something that we saw a lot in EMEA, in full swing.
This is vintage Na'Vi with the slight adaptations of course, bringing in Jerky, and they're setting themselves up. And, of course, trust me, playing the new hero in the form of that Angela. Little bit of a wait there for Rajaro, actually starting in spawn, waiting, I believe, for the jump pack from the Rocket before they made their way to the point, which means they will be a little bit behind the rest of their team. Well, trust me, they're hunting strategists. Okay, I did not know that could go sideways, but they're pushing on in, trying to get them on that point, which means no one got tethered there.
Yeah, I don't think it was like an intentional position, just because the AoE is a little bit scattered there too. But it sort of worked. It was like a threatening display. It was a traffic cone to sort of create some space and maybe allow Na'Vi to take this objective first, but Crazy Raccoon now is starting to push back and fight on this point. JT does get stunned, takes a lot of damage, and it is going to force the fate of both worlds. A pick does go on to Juriki, but a BR back means that he's going to be instantly into this engagement. Yarn Amplifier might allow a counter-attack from Na'Vi, and yeah, Juriki straight back into the fight, gets his revenge.
Perfectly used right at the end of the fate of both worlds, meaning there's nothing left. NX even onto the Jeff. Had the it's Jeff, but with everyone down, it's better once again to wait for the reset. Na'Vi get the clean up there and will grab the first percentages on this point.
It is worth adding that now that Na'Vi have created a bit of time for themselves, like Juriki coming in alongside Crisis, the two duelist players from low 9 in stage 1 of EMEA. Juriki is fitting his team like a glove now. It's not as if he looked out of place, I think, for Na'Vi at the start of the stage, but certainly now that the meta's allowing him to play the likes of Psylocke, which, speaking of which, the Dance of the Butterflies is going to come out with the Invisible Boundary used on the other side from Lastro, but just with all of this damage, Trust Me's able to find that pick, the IGL, able to follow up on what his duelists are doing, alongside Fate just kidnapping two of the main backline players from Crazy Raccoon.
And Trust Me, making it 3, bringing JT3 to join their team in the Abyss. And also, big shout out to Fate, once again, maximizing the amount of time he had everyone inside, while also realizing that one of those Invisible Woman, and if you're going to go down, you can guarantee it being a 2-for-1 if you go down with them, as opposed to maybe making it a 1-for-1 if Invisible Woman is able to jump back on and take the 1v1 versus you. It's easier just to secure the advantage.
Especially when the fight is not happening from Crazy Raccoon. Like, they have to reset no matter what. You're able to get back into the engagement quite quickly. And speaking of which, a lot's been thrown in. Galactic Legend, the Heavens Descent, the It's Jeff has been used on the other side, trying to see what they can sort of eat up and grab. But there's not much that NX could do on the other side. We are back for Trust Me. He goes down, but that's all it for Na'Vi. However, actually, Fate takes a bit of a smashing from J-Mac. Now, it's a little bit more of a scrappy engagement, and to the point that Crazy Raccoon are actually going to dedicate this Freedom Charge to go in and fight at 80%.
And the map is going to transform. Jong-hun gets the double, but Lastro falls, and the team gets split in two. And Rajaro continues to just show why they are the GOAT here, as they are able to take 2 members. Waiting for a little bit of strategist healing on their team, as in the meantime, J-Mac is harassing their backline, and Rajaro is stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to protect their backline, while also continuing to just be the brawler, be the actual damage for their team, while they wait for the Dance of the Butterflies in the backline, trying to burst through. That fate of both worlds, it's not enough. Jerky falls to retrieve false physics. While they are stealthed, they might be out of position as Trust Me gets picked up with the bionic hook.
Yeah, trying to force out some of these ultimates. It's Jeff now for Fate. Who are the targets that he's looking for? Not able to grab anybody. If he did, he would have just been sent right back to spawn regardless. But Naga's found himself one. Seems that it's going to be more of like a 5v5 if it wasn't for Rajaro going down from JT3 on the other side. Santa Seduction also forced out. Getting some big ultimates from Crazy Raccoon now that you've reached 94%. Means that Na'Vi can sort of build up a little bit more. If they want to change their composition, they can do. But I think it's more setting up Naga, who's got that Galactic Legend just about ready. And a damage boost would go lovely with that.
Damage boost would be huge. Cosmic Gun Amplifier, of course, the bonus health as well. Trust me. Stealing away their opponent's health packs as well is going to be especially dangerous. Oh, that's going to be rough. The jump. Not enough. Lastro still falls down. And now with Naga on the flank, it's just going to be a full rout here. Crazy Raccoon, they're heading back to spawn. J-Mac's on the strain. They might try and recontest this, but they might not have enough time. 94, 95, going to try and rush on in. Portal is on the way, but nowhere near enough time.
Unfortunately not. Crazy Raccoon unable
played
to...
a bid.
Yeah, played a bid. Just trying to get their first win of the Domination Game Mode in for... basically before they go home from the Grand Finals. Unable to do so. But Na'Vi seemed comfortable consistently throughout that. What's been working well for them this event? You've got Trust Me that was heavily targeted, I'd say. It was more like for the Venom, the Emma, the Cap. But Trust Me, showing that the Angela can do a lot of work, and the IGL leading the charge, quite literally being the tip of the spear there.
Tip of the spear, indeed. Several environmental pickups, 14 final hits, but trust me, they were chasing them down that time. 27 of those being eliminations, being KOs. This was a very nice play. This is exactly what we like to see. Jerky literally swapping over to Blade at the end, so we do see Blade on the end screen, despite
he can go for the screenshot,
a single point of damage.
It's a good
0%
test.
accuracy because he never got to hit it.
Yeah. He didn't really get the chance. You know, you miss all of the shots that you don't take, I guess. And he quite literally didn't take any, but now we're seeing like Air Force Trust Me flying through the skies, but just how everything has come together from them. Now they're not having the best day when it comes to that result against FlyQuest a little bit earlier on. Wanted to make sure that this one just doesn't go on too long. Crazy Raccoon getting a series win so far today, unable to qualify for playoffs, at least wanted to leave with some fight back against the world champions.
And they did bring a little bit, but again, it's not to the level where they were playing against OUG. OUG have taken everyone to the limit, but Na'Vi, they seem on form in this matchup, bringing them literally to the edge multiple times, literally, metaphorically, and basically everything else. And I don't think that Crazy Raccoon really grasped the gravity of the situation.
Lovely, lovely. I was trying to see if I could do like that sort of cartoony, like, ooh, when Trust Me managed to take off Lastra off the map, but it did feel like a little bit of a fall off of graces for Crazy Raccoon, I suppose. I'm seeing how many like vertical puns that we can make at this point, but it is going to be a break, I think.
Yes, it is. We're going to be heading to a break because there will be a substitution. Top 1 substitutions for Na'Vi. Number 1 will surprise you. Right back after this.
ones have what it takes to become the best of the best.
The fight is gonna happen right here, right now.
Hey, we're Navi.
And we're here in Atlanta to win the grand finals in Marvel Rivals.
It's time to go 2 for 2.
I still believe them, because at this point they're continuing to impress. There is a solid chance they might be able to do so. But we mentioned earlier that there is going to be a substitution for this next matchup. We are having Jerky out and Crisis coming in. We talked about it. The full potential of Na'Vi is that they do have this option to rotate.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the main things that they sort of said about it, like from the past as well, from talking about Stage 2, is the few times that we saw Crisis in play for Na'Vi, we're on Convergence maps. So that tells us at least something about the map that the Crazy Raccoon want to choose here. And judging based off of the history for them, they've really liked to go to Jelly no matter what. It was pretty much an undefeated map for them up until this tournament. I think they're pretty much like 2-1 on it so far, so it's not the worst results in the world. But for Na'Vi, it is also their most commonly picked Convergence map, and they're 2-0 on it. So you're sort of taking one of the strongest teams in the world to one of their strongest maps, and that's exactly what it's going to be.
Heading to Hall of Jalia, we are very much sticking in the intergalactic empire of Wakanda for our next matchups here, and we got to talk about the fact that Na'Vi are very much fighting for 1, the pride, and 2, the seeding, but Crazy Raccoon, they are still fighting. They've already been able to take their first series. They're looking to see if they can go out of the groups with at least one more, especially as Reject a little bit earlier on the other stream were able to beat out Dark Zero in a 2-1. So there is an Asia team going in through the group stages. I believe Envy is now out with Chopper Mag and Reject going through that group. But we are now set up with Reject going to be trying to carry through the hopes of the Asia region, and if Crazy Raccoon can continue to rattle teams like they have been so far, then that might put a lot of fear for Reject in a lot of the other teams' hearts, like Na'Vi, if Crazy Raccoon are able to take a map or even the series.
That's Chopper Mag as well, like not Asia, but like the Asia Pacific OCE region, underestimated. You can't do that in tournaments like this, but for Na'Vi, I think they're going to be happy with this map. The one thing that I'm wondering is, do you reckon Crazy Raccoon surely know about some of the hijinks from Trust Me? Sure.
I'd hope so, but they've got a lot on their plate. There was a lot of teams to prepare for in this group, and it's a question of if they know about it, if they got caught out by it.
Yeah, so for those that know the Trust Me play, I'm not going to reveal it for those that don't. You have to see it to believe it. But for those that do know about it, know that Trust Me told me that it has evolved. There's more adding to it. And honestly, Trust Me is the kind of like IGL that would literally be like, I have this idea for a strategy, but I need Crisis. Let's sub him in. I could definitely see that. I could see that world where he's like, Crisis is like, oh, I get to play. It's like, yeah, you're part of my cheese strategy at the start of like a defensive side. Oh.
They have brought him in a couple times in this map in particular as well. You mentioned
every
for
time.
Convergence, because the fact is they do have some incredible defense. Crisis is one of the best Winter Soldier players in the world, and I will stand by that. And they will bring him in sometimes if they do want to use that strategy. And on this map in particular, Winter Soldier is crazy good because that one corner on the first point where you can go down the ramp towards point 2 is very hard to pick a Winter Soldier off of because he can actually get you out of line of sight of your team.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, like, we knew that Crisis was a good hit scan player when he was on low 9 and when he was briefly on FaZe, I think. It was either FaZe or Chop that they played in MRC 4. And then Na'Vi were like, yeah, we need some replacements very quickly because we just lost Melio. It was along those, like, lines.
I think it was FaZe where they were in a situation where they had, like, well, again, multiple teams lost their duelists because there was that little swap of Melio moving over to Citadel, and then Na'Vi needed to pick up 2 duelists extremely quickly. So we did see Crisis 100% was definitely stolen from FaZe, I believe, in that lineup. So it's a cool matchup, it's a cool bit, but again, they're fitting in quite well. Jerky's been picking up the majority of the games because it fits into their main strategy, but they do have strategies for Crisis.
And it feels like the one thing I was going to say is, like, when we saw Crisis in play, it was during like a Punisher meta and a bit of Winter Soldier. It wasn't really during a Hela Namor, but he was such a good hit scan player. I would assume that his Hela and Namor would be scary. But we do get to see him in the server for this one instead of Jerky. Whether that's part of the competition, whether there's stuff that they want to try, We'll have to wait and see. Na'Vi are going to be on the defense first, so we all know what that means. But it isn't going to be a double Mantis first ban. In fact, the Jeff is going to be taken out first from Crazy Raccoon, feeling that Fate got away with maybe a little bit too much last time.
The Crazy Raccoon don't immediately secure themselves an early Mantis. They actually secure themselves the Venom first, forcing Na'Vi to ban out the Jeff because they don't want to be dealing with their own strategy of the symbiotic shenanigans. So they take that out, Na'Vi focusing very heavily onto these third strategists. And once again, Crazy Raccoon, they don't prioritize banning the Mantis, meaning Na'Vi get their hands on Mantis.
And we have seen Na'Vi run 2-2 with a Mantis as well. Like, you can see some teams run low-key and just have like double Soul Resurgence to work with. I mean, Mantis Rocket with double damage boosts that you can start to run with. It really feels like some of those characters that felt like you had to slot in specific pieces alongside them are a little bit more robust now than they were maybe in Stage 2.
Going to see Adam taken away. We're, of course, not in the Guardians revival team up anymore. We don't need to worry about that with the triple res composition. We have a new version of that now with Loki. But taking that Adam away is still going to remove the opportunity for Na'Vi to go very heavily with damage boost and the opportunity to revive on defense. Psylocke will be taken out because with that Venom on the board, you're very scared of the chance of being dove with a Feast from the Abyss and Dance in the Butterfly combo, which will basically one-shot almost anyone in the game. On the side of Crazy Raccoon, they remove the Hela. Don't want to be dealing with that Namor Hela combo.
Also, I assume that when you see Crisis being subbed in, you go, yeah, get rid of the hit scan characters now, please. Yes, like, thank you. It seems that would be a very much go towards kind of strategy. Yeah, very, very sensible, especially when Naga was the one that was highlighting over it. It could be some like triple strategy stuff, but you have Crisis over on the Bucky because that's something that Na'Vi haven't really shown too much of, and certainly after that game with FlyQuest, you might be like, let's give it a try ourselves. You never know.
Na'Vi secured themselves a Venom, meaning that Crazy Raccoon immediately respond with their own Psylocke ban out to avoid that one-shot combination, and they protect themselves a Star-Lord. We've already talked about how good NX is on that, and the Rocket is the final ban away by Na'Vi. They don't want to deal with revives when it's their turn to attack.
Crisis actually locking in the Jean Grey. I mean, it's a character that was very, very good in Stage 2. Has sort of taken a couple of hits, just animation cancels, like the left click effect not actually happening off of the melees anymore. Not seen it as much, but that's kind of what I wanted to see and expected a little bit more. It does feel like Bucky might be, seems to be the top dog, I think, when it comes to duelists at the moment, but when it comes to how versatile he is in all sorts of different compositions and in what kind of situation you can work with, you're mimicking the singing of this voice. I just want everybody at home to know that.
Absolutely not. How dare you even suggest such a thing?
It's a lovely voice. It's better me saying it than production putting the camera on and showing you do it.
That is true. I do appreciate that.
Trust me.
Oh boy. Let's keep an eye on that. Will he land it? He's landed it, I think, once out of all of the times it has been attempted. Can they do it? NX is also starting on the penny. Are they just going... They don't have rockets, so they're not going for armor. They're going to try and do a line matchup.
Which we've already seen some teams actually punish by taking the damage and letting the strategists.
Oh, it has evolved.
Trust me, there's only one POV to be watching. Doesn't seem that there's any other parts of it. It might just be...
They look that way.
The Route 1 approach.
He goes across. Pull.
He gets one!
No!
Never mind.
It's not going to land. They just short of picking it up, but trust me, we will now see them rotate over to the Venom, swing back in, but that is smart. Crazy Raccoon take advantage of this moment, immediately moving over with the strange portal, meaning that they will actually reach the point before Trust Me gets back. The only way you beat Trust Me to the objective.
Yeah, for the portal play, and there was so many like barriers to make sure that the Strange wasn't the one that was picked up in that set play. But trust me, one of the reasons why he likes to go for that strategy, even if he goes down first, is because of how quickly he can be back in his fight. Unfortunately, two of his teammates have gone back in pretty quick succession. The Beerback is going to bring one of them, Rajaro, but you are missing out on Fate, one of your strategists out of the three that you're running. And Crazy Raccoon almost have the point.
They're so close, and suddenly Trust Me has to step onto it to try and contest this. Frenzied Arrival not yet available, so they have to run onto the point, but it's too late. Crazy Raccoon just sped run Na'Vi on first point.
Yeah, trust me, I think we ditched the strat now, because that's the one time that I've seen it actually really bully you through. The portal play just really creating this hot tempo, even with the B right back, it doesn't find too much, and Fate has gone down pretty early on both cases. Whilst he was trying to reset, you can see just how far up they've pushed, and JMac trying to take this high ground all the way at the second checkpoint. There's 5 minutes on the clock, Tetcher, to push this objective as far as they can.
Keeping some pressure on, finding some people on the flank, but there's a few too many bodies for them to commit to this engagement at least yet. But they've got a great position. Rajaro trying to also target their team who is up there. Here comes Grice, who has now moved over to that Jean Grey. The Phoenix for a little bit of aerial counterplay with that hit scan. Regeneration Domain coming out onto Rajaro as Grice is trying to deal with that Star-Lord. Take them out early through the Galactic Legend. You'll be able to sustain through this, but the Guardian Barrier is keeping NX topped up in this fight, but they're forced to roll away.
Forced to fight back. Feast of the Abyss used in combination with that Silver Resurgence to maybe allow a little bit more crunch from Trust Me, but nobody has gone down from Crazy Raccoon as of yet. And the Silent Seduction is a great thing. It's going to be traded out on both sides, and even the picks seem to be going in the same direction. 4 versus 4. You have got Fate with the God of Mischief that is involved in this engagement, but Crook, the MVP of mid-season finals, he was able to get 3 of the final hits in that fight for Na'Vi. Seems that they're able to be a little bit more comfortable, finally take control of the payload, but there's still 4 minutes for them to hold here.
NX finally goes down, but like you say, just how quickly Crazy Raccoon got that first point. Na'Vi, they get control, but they are very much slower in terms of actual point control here. Crazy Raccoon have so many attempts to re-engage here. They're going to have another portal before this timer goes down. Galactic Legend coming on out for Naga to try and pressure the backline, but this center area proving to be a little bit too difficult to assail. So Rejuvenation coming on in as Fate pushes down to the low ground. Inferno not going to be able to find a good target, as so far no one's going down on either side, and Vital, perfect timing to wait out the end of that Endsong Inferno before going into Goddess of Death.
Everybody's been taken out very quickly and cleanly. It's like NX has the Galactic Legend handy, but there's a fight back. Rajaro and Trust Me, the Vanguard's able to find 2, so it's now looking like it's a little bit more like a 3 versus 4.
Now, though.
Yeah, Crazy Raccoon able to maintain and regroup over on the objective, throwing some shots themselves, but Trust Me's not really being too afraid to take this fight. In fact, rather bullish to try and take the high ground away from Crazy Raccoon. Make sure that Na'Vi, with this double duelist setup with Crisis and Naga, they've got so much verticality that this high ground will become very important for them to hold on to.
Trust Me diving on in, trying to keep some pressure on, takes a lot of damage. Symbiotic Resilience will let them to tank on through though. And again, Na'Vi, they are holding, they are delaying this. As Invisible Boundary comes on out for the last row, met with the Soul Rejuvenation from level 1 Crook, who will get stunned up, but holds the line, keeps them sustained, keeps them healed. They've got that Loki and they've got that Loki and Mantis team up, meaning that those regeneration domains are extremely wide, but currently on cooldown. They're running out of defensive tools here as Trust Me is taken out by NX, but Crisis picks off J-Back.
So far, Crazy Raccoon stalled out. 5.5 minutes on the clock when they took the objective, now down to 2. Na'Vi have a Galactic Legend. Naga's just managed to grab it. He's taken a good chunk of damage too at the same point, but it is allowing Fate and level 1 Crook to farm stuff up. In combination, it is just going to be the Galactic Legend finding out these little pockets of space, and Naga just between all of the players swinging his way through from Crazy Raccoon to drop them one at a time. A reset is required from the attackers. And Naga only just using that Galactic Legend means that they can sit pretty back on this high ground with control of the payload.
We're down from over 5 minutes to 1 minute and 35 seconds, but there is only a sliver left on that point, because every time Na'Vi do win a fight, but Crazy Raccoon are gaining distance each time. The time is ticking down, and Na'Vi can't afford to lose any more fights, really. Facing the Abyss into the backline, see if they can get a stagger, which they do. Vital and Zhonghun taken down, which is huge for the side of Na'Vi, as now they are continuing to stagger members. While Crisis does fall, that is easily a worth trade as NX goes down as well.
It says a lot about Na'Vi that it just feels like they're farming up their ultimate so quickly, but I think it's just they're so good at like ultimate cycling out stuff that it feels that there's never a gap in these, like there's no downtime that they're waiting for something offensive or defensive to be working with. And now they're sat with quite a lot. Both strategists are looking to have those ultimates up on hand on this defense. Meanwhile, Crazy Raccoon have had quite a lot to work with for some time, but there's just not really been enough follow-through or a pick to really start off any momentum. Goddess of Death pretty much sent back from Vital, and he's sent back to spawn from Naga. Naga, who's 2/3 of the way of having a Galactic Legend. You have got Fate going for the copy and is taken out as he tried to copy the Mantis, goes for the Solar Resurgence. Now you have got Crisis moving in, his sort of debut on an international stage, debut on an offline event. Ensog Inferno's not going to find too much, but the actual Solar Resurgence is going to be used from Crook.
We're going to buy some time, keep that delay going, as NX unable to find a lot with that Galactic Legend. JT3 drops low, chased on down as Rajaro takes the brawl in diamond form, retreating to the objective now because overtime is about to be hit. If they can remove people from that board, then they remove overtime, which they do. Nicely done, Na'Vi with the hold, but the fact is, that was a first point being taken and over halfway through second.
It was, I mean, have we seen teams being full held on Jalia?
Not for a while.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to Na'Vi, I think one of the main things that they did that caught our attention way back when they were rad is full holding Virtus Pro.
They
for
did. Their first loss, I believe, in
First series loss for Virtus Pro at the hands of Rad that qualified ahead of them for the mid-season finals and then went to go and win the event. It just feels like poetry. It rhymes, as they say. But for Crazy Raccoon, they would, I think it would be a little bit more of a struggle, I suppose, to have to full hold Na'Vi here. But it depends on what kind of strategies they want to go for. And they actually do have the Penny here, but with the Rocket, they have the team up.
Is Fate going to try the mines? Because I'm hearing sounds. I'm not sure if that's just the mines coming out of the actual spider spawner, or if that is Fate attempting to land some mines onto Crazy Raccoon. But again, if Crazy Raccoon spot it, they can charge Strategist Ultimate. So it's always a gamble of how prepared your opponents actually are for this. Because if they are, they use it to their own advantage.
Really feels again that whilst this has been kind of one-sided for Na'Vi, there's not many eliminations in the server in comparison to what we've seen out of the Americas teams. Certainly earlier Na'Vi versus FlyQuest, it felt that Na'Vi were just a little bit behind on actually getting picks and eliminations.
No one got mined.
Nobody got mined. Yeah, going for a bottle play as well from the looks of it. Trust me, all of these barriers to go in, just in case the Spider-Man play was going to be used on the other side. But Crazy Raccoon going for the Hella Nemo comp.
Classic trust me play actually there, going to be portaling and then swapping to Venom, so his team takes one angle and then he takes the other and creates a distraction as once again Venom, one of the fastest rolled out characters.
And he's got the help of Naga and Crisis that could be pretty much in the sky alongside, and there goes Naga, who has been very clean at finding up these picks. Rajaro is going to do the same on the ground, and whilst we saw Crazy Raccoon taking that first objective fairly quickly, Na'Vi are looking to match it.
Going to try and beat the time, and they may just do so because they are cleaning up. We're going to see J-Mac try and rush the point to buy some extra time and take some of that clock off. But there is the triple portal, not in time. Devastating cooldown to use for Crazy Raccoon. Trust me, is heading into their spawn right now as everyone teleports to the third location so they can get out of danger here. 5 minutes and 25, it's almost equal in terms of the actual time they had left.
I can hear his voice just be like, hey guys, how's it going? How are you doing? Sorry that you got eliminated.
This is not my spawn yet. I will be taking it later as they continue to push on up. Regeneration Domain has to be used from Fate as they do get dived a little bit. NX keeping the pressure on and will catch them out of position here.
He's trying to go for the stealth to see if he can get some information and maybe just use one of his copies to disengage if he was pushed. But I think that was a little bit of hubris, perhaps overconfidence. And now it's forcing out the Soul Resurgence from Na'Vi, but it means that this fight is so far up that you've still got the objective moving along. Up until now, that even though Crazy Raccoon have lost 5 of their players, the one that is still alive, which is NX, that has just been eliminated, was able to stall the payload for 5-10 seconds, a little bit of time.
NX, J-Mac just keep taking it in turns to delay. They're just rushing the point, creating delays, stopping Na'Vi from just pushing all the way through. But already, Na'Vi have massively outpaced Crazy Raccoon. Crazy Raccoon was significantly far back, and it looks like Na'Vi may in fact go for a hold in the gate to prevent anyone from touching the point, because they gotta move. You are out of time, Crazy Raccoon. 2 minutes and 49 as Venom is going to be the one to touch the point, Captain America, sorry, for the extra delay, but everyone else needs to rush it in. Invisible Boundary comes out for an extra delay. Vital crack an impact to try and blast them off the point as in comes the Ensog Inferno, allowing Fate to take out NX. JT3 falls and Na'Vi take a clean 2-0 off of Crazy Raccoon.
With 4 minutes still on the clock, they only lost a second for the allocated time right at the end there. But it means that Crazy Raccoon, they finish off their run in the grand finals here in Atlanta for Marvel Rivals Ignite with a series win, but unfortunately no maps on the board against Na'Vi, who aren't able to go out of their group as the top seed. But to be fair, they had to play in play-ins for mid-season finals, and they ended up winning that event. Seeding is going to mean very little for them. They like to do things the hard way, as Fate says, and they're quite used to going through the gauntlet as it's required.
Also, this makes Crysis one of the only players to have a 100% map win rate in Marvel Rivals Ignite here, and very nicely done for these grand finals. A solid performance, topping the damage charts for his team, able to get 5 pickups, getting down 4 times, but still was able to set up several good Endsong Infernos, and there's so much more that Crysis has to give. A solid first performance, and that is the power of Na'Vi, that they can rotate through players when needed.
Yeah, and I think when you have got players like Cherokee and Crysis that didn't have that like LAN offline experience that the rest of Na'Vi were able to get at the mid-season finals, just getting him in a game like this to just get acclimatized to the environment, how it's different. I don't know his background in previous esports of Crysis, whether he's been at offline events in other games perhaps, but for most players, they're typically pretty young, a little bit inexperienced from other stuff, like Marvel Rivals might be their first like esport that they've actually competed in. This is like the perfect time where you can actually play an official series on LAN, but it doesn't really add too much. But I do think it confirms Na'Vi to be the second seed to come out of Group B.
It does. They are 100% guaranteed to be second seed now, meaning that our groups, which we will be having a look at very shortly, I assume, are